She walked into that office building on a Tuesday morning, completely unaware that the next 15 minutes would change someone's career forever. The glass doors of the downtown corporate headquarters reflected the morning sun as she stepped inside, her heels clicking against the marble floor. She had an 11 a.m. meeting scheduled with the executive team, but she arrived early, as she always did. Punctuality was something she valued, especially in business. The reception area buzzed with the usual morning activity. Employees swiped their access cards, coffee cups in hand, heading toward the elevators. She approached the front desk, her briefcase in one hand and her phone in the other. The receptionist looked up briefly, then returned to her computer screen without a word. "Good morning," she said, her voice professional and clear. "I have an appointment with the executive board at 11. The receptionist, a young woman with blonde hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, glanced up again. Her eyes scanned over the visitor, lingering for a moment too long. "Name?" she asked, her tone flat. "Maya Richardson," she replied, offering a polite smile. The receptionist's fingers moved across the keyboard, her eyes fixed on the screen. Several seconds passed, then more seconds. The clicking of the keys seemed deliberately slow. "I don't see anything here," the receptionist finally said, not looking up. Maya pulled out her phone and opened her email. "I received confirmation yesterday. The meeting is with Robert Chen and the senior management team. Conference room B." The receptionist sighed audibly, as if the request was somehow burdensome. "Look, I don't have you in the system. Are you sure you have the right building?" Before you continue watching, let us know in the comments where you're joining us from today. Are you watching from New York, Los Angeles, London, Manchester, or somewhere else entirely? We love hearing from our viewers around the world. Maya felt the first prickle of irritation but kept her composure. She had dealt with situations like this before, though she never got used to them. "Yes, I'm certain. This is 1500 Commerce Street, correct?" "It is," the receptionist said, her voice carrying a hint of condescension. "But like I said, you're not in the system." A man appeared from behind a partition near the reception desk. He wore a security guard uniform, his name tag reading Derek Mitchell. He was in his mid-40s, with a reddish complexion and an expression that seemed permanently set in suspicion. He looked at Maya, then at the receptionist. "Problem here." The receptionist leaned back in her chair. "She says she has a meeting, but she's not in the system." Derek crossed his arms and positioned himself between Maya and the elevator bank. "You need to be on the visitor list to go upstairs. If you're not on the list, you can't come in. Simple as that." Maya maintained her professional demeanor. "I understand the protocol. I'm simply saying that there may be an error in your system. If you could call upstairs to Mr. Chen's office, they'll confirm my appointment." Derek's eyes narrowed. "I don't need to call anyone. If you're not in the system, you don't belong here." He paused, looking her up and down in a way that made her skin crawl. "We get people trying to get into this building all the time. Delivery people, salespeople, all sorts trying to sneak past security." "I'm not trying to sneak anywhere," Maya said, her voice firm but controlled. "I'm a scheduled visitor with a confirmed appointment." The receptionist exchanged a look with Derek, and something passed between them. A knowing glance that Maya had seen too many times in her life. Derek stepped closer, his posture deliberately intimidating. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to leave the premises. You're causing a disturbance." "A disturbance?" Maya's voice rose slightly, though she fought to keep it level. "I'm standing here calmly asking you to verify my appointment." "You're arguing with staff," Derek shot back. "That's a disturbance in my book. Now, I've asked you nicely to leave. Don't make me ask again." A few employees had stopped to watch the exchange. Some pretended not to notice, hurrying past with their eyes averted. Others openly stared, waiting to see what would happen next. Maya felt the heat rising in her chest, the familiar combination of anger and humiliation that came with being treated as if she didn't belong. But she had learned long ago not to let her emotions dictate her response. She took a slow breath. "I'm going to call my contact upstairs," she said, lifting her phone. Derek moved quickly, stepping even closer. "You need to leave now. I'm not going to tell you again. If you refuse, I'll have to escort you out. For trying to attend a business meeting I was invited to. Maya's voice was incredulous now. You're threatening to remove me for that. I'm doing my job. Derek said, his voice getting louder. And my job is to keep people who don't belong here out of this building. You clearly don't belong here. The words hung in the air like poison. The implication was clear, even if he didn't say it directly. Maya felt the familiar sting, but she refused to back down. I'm a businesswoman with a scheduled appointment. I belong here as much as anyone else. Derek laughed, a short, harsh sound. Sure you are, and I'm supposed to just take your word for it. You show up here with no appointment in the system, making demands, and I'm just supposed to let you waltz upstairs. I'm not making demands. I'm asking you to do your job properly and verify my appointment. My job, Derek said, his face reddening, is to keep the riffraff out. And right now, you're looking a lot like riffraff to me. The receptionist had gone silent, watching the exchange with wide eyes. She seemed uncomfortable now, as if realizing things had escalated beyond her control. But she said nothing to intervene. Maya's jaw tightened. I'd like to speak to your supervisor. My supervisor will tell you the same thing I'm telling you. Derek replied, You're not on the list, so you need to leave. It's not complicated. What's not complicated? Maya said, her voice cutting through his words, is that you've made an assumption about me based on how I look. You've decided I don't belong here without even bothering to check properly. Derek's face flushed darker. Don't you dare try to make this about race. This is about security protocol. You're not on the list. End of story. Then check again. Maya insisted. Call upstairs. Do your actual job instead of making snap judgments. I don't need to check anything, Derek said, his voice rising. I can spot someone who doesn't belong a mile away. And you, lady, definitely don't belong in a place like this. Several more people had gathered now, some pretending to check their phones while clearly listening to every word. Maya was acutely aware of being the center of attention, of being put on display in the most humiliating way possible. She pulled up her email again and held the phone out toward Derek. Here, read the confirmation yourself. It's from Robert Chen's executive assistant. Time, date, location, everything. Derek barely glanced at the screen. Anyone can fake an email. You think I'm stupid. I think you're refusing to do basic verification because you've already decided I'm lying. Maya said, her voice steady despite the anger coursing through her. And we both know why you've decided that. There you go again, Derek said, jabbing a finger in her direction. Playing the victim, classic. You people always do this. Show up where you're not wanted, cause problems, then cry discrimination when someone calls you out. The words landed like a slap. The mask had fully dropped now. Whatever pretense of professionalism Derek had maintained was gone. Maya stared at him, momentarily stunned by the blatant hostility. You people, she repeated slowly. You want to clarify what you mean by that. Derek realized his mistake, but instead of backing down, he doubled down. I mean people who show up making trouble. Don't try to twist my words. Your words are pretty clear. Maya said, You've been clear from the moment you saw me. The receptionist finally spoke up, her voice tentative. Derek, maybe we should just call upstairs and check. Stay out of this, Jennifer, Derek snapped. I've got it under control. You don't have anything under control, Maya said. You're harassing a visitor who has every right to be here. Harassing. Derek's voice was loud enough now that it echoed through the lobby. You're the one harassing us, coming in here with your attitude, demanding special treatment, making accusations. I've dealt with people like you before. You think you can waltz into any building and everyone should just bow down. Well, not here, not on my watch. Maya's phone buzzed in her hand. She glanced down and saw a text message from Robert Chen's assistant, running 5 minutes early. Are you in the building yet? She held up the phone again. I just received a text from the executive assistant asking if I'm in the building, because I'm expected, because I have an appointment. Are you going to continue this charade, or are you going to let me do what I came here to do? Derek's eyes flickered to the phone, then back to Maya's face. For a moment, something like uncertainty crossed his features, but his pride wouldn't let him back down. I don't care what some text message says. Until I verify you're supposed to be here, you're not going anywhere. Then verify it, Maya said, exasperation creeping into her voice. That's all I've been asking you to do for the last 10 minutes. Don't tell me how to do my job, Derek shot back. Someone needs to, because you're clearly not doing it correctly. The elevator dinged, and a woman in her 30s stepped out, dressed in a sharp business suit. She looked at the scene unfolding in the lobby, her expression shifting from curiosity to concern. She approached the group. Is everything all right here? Derek turned to her. Just dealing with an unauthorized person trying to access the building. The woman looked at Maya, then back at Derek. I'm Sarah Winters, executive assistant to Robert Chen. Who are you referring to? Derek gestured toward Maya. Her? She's not in the system. Sarah's eyes widened slightly. This is Maya Richardson. She absolutely is in the system. She has an 11 a.m. meeting with the executive board. I sent the visitor information over yesterday afternoon. The lobby went silent. Derek's face went from red to pale in an instant. Jennifer, the receptionist, began frantically clicking through screens on her computer. I don't see. Let me check. Sarah pulled out her phone and showed Derek the screen. Here's the confirmation I sent to reception. Here's the visitor badge request I submitted, and here's Ms. Richardson's profile, which includes the fact that she's the CEO of Richardson Media Group and one of the most respected business leaders in the country. Derek's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. Maya remained perfectly still, watching the realization dawn on everyone's faces. The other employees who had been watching began to whisper among themselves. Someone pulled out their phone and started typing rapidly. Sarah turned to Maya, her expression apologetic and horrified. Ms. Richardson, I am so deeply sorry. This should never have happened. Please let me escort you upstairs immediately. Thank you, Maya said quietly. She looked at Derek, who seemed to be trying to disappear into the floor. I believe we were discussing whether or not I belonged here. Derek stammered, I was just doing my job, following protocol. If the system didn't show, the system showed exactly what it was supposed to show. Sarah interrupted, her voice hard. You chose not to look properly, or perhaps you chose not to believe what you were seeing. Jennifer had found the visitor request on her computer. It's here, she said weakly. It was here the whole time. I didn't see it at first. You didn't look, Maya said simply, because you assumed I was lying. Derek tried one more time to salvage the situation. Look, this is just a misunderstanding. These things happen. No harm done, right? No harm done. Maya's voice was quiet but sharp. You accused me of being a liar. You called me riffraff. You said I don't belong here. You made comments about you people. You threatened to have me removed from a building where I was an invited guest, and you think there's no harm done. Sarah's face had gone white. He said what? One of the onlookers, a young man in his 20s, spoke up. I recorded the whole thing. He held up his phone. I thought something was off about how he was acting, so I started recording, got everything. Derek's eyes went wide. You can't. That's not. Actually, in a public space like this lobby, I absolutely can, the young man said, and I think a lot of people are going to be very interested in seeing this. Maya turned to Sarah. I'd still like to attend my meeting if that's possible. Of course, Sarah said quickly. Absolutely. Please write this way. She shot Derek a look that could have frozen fire. We'll be addressing this situation immediately after the meeting. As Maya followed Sarah to the elevator, Derek called out behind her, Wait, please. I didn't mean. I was just trying to be thorough. You have to understand, we have protocols. Maya stopped and turned back. I understand perfectly. I understand that you saw a black woman standing in your lobby and immediately assumed she was a problem to be dealt with. I understand that you refused to extend even basic professional courtesy. I understand that your prejudice was more important to you than doing your job correctly. I understand all of that very clearly. The elevator doors opened, and Maya stepped inside with Sarah. As the doors closed, she could see Derek standing in the middle of the lobby, looking like a man watching his career crumble in real time. In the elevator, Sarah apologized again. Ms. Richardson, I cannot express how sorry I am. This is completely unacceptable. Mr. Chen will be horrified when he hears about this. I imagine he will, Maya said. But I think there's something you should know about me before we go into this meeting. Yes, Maya pulled out her phone and opened her social media. Her verified account showed 3 million followers. Richardson Media Group owns 12 television stations, 15 radio stations, and one of the largest digital media networks in the country. We reach approximately 40 million people daily. I also have a press team that's very good at their job. Sarah's eyes widened as the implication sank in. That young man who recorded everything, Maya continued. He's going to post that video. It's probably already online, and within the hour my press team will have seen it, verified it, and decided how to respond. They don't wait for my approval on things like this. They act. Oh my God, Sarah whispered. Your company has a problem, Maya said, and in about. She checked her watch, 20 minutes. That problem is going to become very public. The elevator reached the executive floor. The doors opened and Maya stepped out, her composure completely intact. Sarah followed, looking shocked. Robert Chen met them in the hallway, a warm smile on his face. Maya, wonderful to see you. I've been looking forward to this meeting all week. His smile faded as he noticed Sarah's expression. Is everything okay? We may have a situation, Sarah said quietly. Maya's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and saw a text from her director of communications. Saw the video, it's already viral. 250K views and climbing. CNN is calling. How do you want to handle? She showed the message to Robert and Sarah. Robert's face went from confused to furious as Sarah quickly explained what had happened in the lobby. Are you kidding me? Robert's voice was barely controlled. In our building to you, he looked at Maya, genuine distress in his eyes. Maya, I don't even know what to say. This is inexcusable. You don't need to say anything to me, Maya replied. But you're going to need to say something to the media, because they're going to be calling you very soon. As if on cue, Robert's phone began ringing, then Sarah's. Within minutes, the executive floor was in chaos. Other board members emerged from their offices, alerted by their assistants that something major was happening. The video had spread from social media to news outlets in record time. The headline was already everywhere. Media CEO racially profiled at corporate office. Derek's face was clearly visible in the video. His name tag was readable. His words were crystal clear. You people always do this. The clip had been edited down to a devastating 2-minute highlight reel that showed exactly what had happened. Maya watched as the executive scrambled. She felt no satisfaction in it, only a tired sort of inevitability. This was the world she lived in. A world where being successful, being professional, being invited, still wasn't enough to prevent being treated as if you didn't belong. Robert pulled her aside. Maya, please, tell me what we can do. How can we make this right? She looked at him steadily. You can't make this right for me. What happened, happened, but you can make it right going forward. You can look at your hiring practices, your training programs, your company culture. You can ask yourself how someone like Derek Mitchell ended up in a position of authority in your building. You can ask yourself how many other people he's treated this way who didn't happen to be the CEO of a media company. Robert nodded slowly. You're right, absolutely right. The meeting we were supposed to have, Maya continued, was about a potential partnership between our companies, a merger of digital platforms that could have been worth billions. I came here today ready to sign preliminary agreements. And now, Robert asked, though he clearly knew the answer. Now I need to think about whether I want my company associated with yours, Maya said, because this isn't just about one security guard. This is about what his behavior says about your organization, about who you hire, about what you tolerate. The phones kept ringing. More executives gathered. Someone mentioned that the video had reached 500,000 views. Twitter was exploding. The company's stock had already dropped 2 points. Maya's press team released a statement. This morning our CEO, Maya Richardson, was racially profiled and harassed while attempting to attend a scheduled business meeting. The incident was captured on video by a witness. We are currently reviewing all business relationships with the company. Question: Richardson Media Group stands firmly against discrimination in all forms and expects the same from our partners. The statement was perfect, professional but damning. It put the ball squarely in the other company's court. Derek Mitchell, meanwhile, had been escorted to a conference room by HR. Jennifer, the receptionist, was being questioned separately. The young man who recorded the video was being asked to provide a copy to the company's legal team, though it hardly mattered since millions of people had already seen it. Maya finally sat down in the conference room where the meeting was supposed to take place. The other board members filed in, looking uncomfortable and uncertain. Robert took his seat at the head of the table. Before we discuss anything else, he said, I want to apologize on behalf of this entire organization. What happened to you today was wrong. It was racist, and it reflects a failure of leadership on our part. Meyer appreciated the directness. Thank you for saying that. Derek Mitchell's employment is being terminated immediately. Robert continued, we're also conducting a full review of our security and reception staff, training protocols, everything. That's a start, Maya said. But you and I both know this goes deeper than one person. This is systemic. One of the other board members, an older white man, cleared his throat. With all due respect, Ms. Richardson, isn't that a bit of an overreaction? One bad employee doesn't mean the whole system is broken. Maya turned to look at him. Do you know how many times I've been followed in stores? How many times I've been stopped and questioned in buildings where I had every right to be? How many times someone has assumed I was the help rather than the person in charge? This isn't about one bad employee. This is about a pattern that Black professionals face every single day. The room was silent, and the fact that you called it an overreaction, Amaya continued, tells me exactly how much work this company needs to do. The board member had the grace to look ashamed. The meeting that was supposed to discuss a merger instead became a reckoning. Maya laid out specific requirements. Anonymous reporting systems for discrimination. Mandatory bias training that actually worked, not just check the box seminars. Diverse hiring panels. Regular audits of workplace culture. She had a whole list because she'd thought about this for years. If you want to do business with Richardson Media, she concluded, these are non-negotiable because I won't put my name and my company's reputation behind an organization that doesn't take this seriously. Robert nodded. We'll do it, all of it. I'll want it in writing, Maya said, and I'll want quarterly reports showing progress. Done. By the end of the day, Derek Mitchell's termination was public. The company issued a formal apology. They announced a comprehensive review of their diversity and inclusion practices. They committed to the changes Maya had demanded. The video had been viewed over 2 million times. Derek's face was everywhere. His name was trending. Other stories started emerging from people who had worked with him or encountered him. A pattern of behavior, comments, incidents that had been brushed aside. Maya sat in her hotel room that evening, scrolling through the responses. There were thousands of messages of support, but there were also the predictable backlash comments. People calling her oversensitive, people saying Derek was just doing his job, people insisting racism wasn't really the issue. She wasn't surprised. She'd seen it all before. Her phone rang. It was her mother. I saw the video, baby. Are you okay? I'm fine, Mom. You shouldn't have to deal with this, not at your level, not with everything you've accomplished. That's the thing, though, Amaya said quietly. It doesn't matter what level you're at. It doesn't matter what you've accomplished. If they decide you don't belong, you don't belong. What are you going to do? What I always do, Maya replied. Keep moving forward, keep building, keep succeeding, because that's the best response there is. They talked for a while longer, and Maya felt some of the tension drain away. Her mother always had that effect on her. Later, she received an email from the young man who had recorded the video. His name was Marcus, and he was an intern at the company. Thank you for handling that with so much grace. He wrote, I'm Black too, and I've had similar experiences. Seeing you stand up for yourself gave me courage. I hope someday I can be as successful as you and make a difference like you did today. Meyer read the message 3 times. This was why she had insisted her press team expose what happened. Not for revenge, not even really for justice, though that mattered too, but because somewhere out there, there were young black professionals who needed to see someone stand up and refuse to be diminished. The merger eventually went through. After months of negotiations and verified changes, Maya made sure every single one of her requirements was met. The company did overhaul their training. They did diversify their hiring. They did implement better oversight. Derek Mitchell never worked in security again. The video followed him everywhere. Some people said the punishment was too harsh, that he'd lost everything over one mistake. But Maya knew it wasn't one mistake. It was a mindset. A set of assumptions he'd carried for years, probably acted on countless times with people who didn't have the platform to fight back. 6 months later, Maya gave a speech at a business leadership conference. She talked about what had happened that day. She talked about the invisible barriers that still existed for people of color in corporate America. She talked about the responsibility of those in power to actively dismantle those barriers. What happened to me in that lobby wasn't unique, she told the audience. It happens every day in offices and businesses across this country. The only difference is that I had the resources to make sure it didn't just disappear. I had a press team that could amplify what happened. I had a platform that people paid attention to, but there are thousands of professionals out there who face the same treatment without any of that backup. And it's our responsibility, all of us in this room, to make sure things change. The speech went viral too. Not as viral as the original video, but it reached millions. It started conversations. Some companies began reviewing their own practices. Some didn't, and Maya made note of which ones. She never forgot that Tuesday morning, the humiliation, the anger, the exhaustion of having to prove she belonged. But she also never forgot the look on Derek's face when he realized who she was, when he understood that his assumptions had consequences. That moment when everything shifted, when his smug confidence crumbled, when he went from being the person in power to being the person whose career was over. Her press team had exposed him in minutes, and the world had watched. Maya Richardson continued building her empire. She continued succeeding. She continued being excellent, and she continued making sure that when discrimination happened, especially to her, there were consequences. Because that was the only way things would ever really change. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below about your own experiences, and remember, excellence doesn't protect you from prejudice, but refusing to be silent does.